Church Growth Unleashed, diving into all things leadership and church growth. Provide the help, encouragement, insights that you need along the journey of growing yourself as a leader and your ministry.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I am so excited to be talking to you guys about something that's absolutely critical for your leadership. I know it's been critical for my leadership. You might be thinking, what is that? Today, I want to talk to you about how to grow your capacity for pain. I want to talk to you about how to deal with problems better by growing your capacity for pain. Here's what I know it's true about you, about your organization, about your life, because it's true about mine, is that you deal with problems. That's what leaders do. We handle one problem after another problem after another problem. It's been said many, many times in my space, man, if it's not one thing, it's another thing, right? There's always something that's broken. There's always something that needs to be fixed. I graduated from Liberty University. Some of you know that. And back in those days, Jerry Falwell would talk a lot about leadership. And one of the things he used to say is there's no 2 good days in a row when it comes to ministry or in ministry. Now, maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but man, he was not far off. Like what we do as leaders, it's hard. There are all kinds of problems. There are people problems. Right now, you probably have people in your organization that are underperforming. They're misbehaving. Maybe someone's not getting along. 2 staff members are not getting along. And so there's people problems, and there's money problems. There's probably something you need to purchase in your ministry that you can't afford. I know right now we have at one of our campuses, one of our audio video systems is not working, and it's $60,000. And it's like, man, we don't have the money for that. Maybe there's a hire you need to make right now, and you don't have it in the budget. Like there's money problems. There's people problems, and maybe you have a systems problem. Maybe the way you get people into small groups right now is not working, or the way that you get kids checked in on Sunday morning is not working right now, or maybe your follow-up system for new believers. Like there's always something that is not working, and so we have problems everywhere we go. And here's what I have learned about great leaders and the difference, what makes a good leader versus what makes a great leader. And that is just simply the way that they handle problems. Great leaders have learned how to handle problems really, really well because they have grown their capacity for pain. See, when leaders don't handle problems well, we literally poison the culture in our organizations. When we get frustrated, when we get angry, when we get overwhelmed, when we get mad at people, we start saying things we shouldn't say. We start making decisions we shouldn't make. And we really undercut ourselves and poison the culture in our own organization. So what we got to do, what I have to do, is get better at solving problems by growing our capacity for pain. A couple of years ago, I read this book called Leadership Pain by Sam Chan. I want to encourage you guys to pick that up if you're wanting to grow in this area. He's got this great quote in the book. He says, "You'll only grow to the threshold of your pain." You'll only grow to the threshold of your pain. What does that mean? That means your capacity to grow personally and your capacity to grow your organization depends upon your capacity to handle pain. And it's just true because growing organizations are changing organizations, and changing organizations, they're suffering loss, and loss creates pain inside of our organizations. And so we got to grow. We got to learn how to do this. Proverbs chapter 24, verse 10 says this: "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." What does that mean? That means that if you fail under pressure, if you cave in when things get hard, it just reveals that your emotional strength is small. So what we want to do as leaders is grow our capacity to handle pressure, to grow our capacity to handle pain. So I wrote a few things down that I have been practicing, for years now, and it's really helped me to grow in this area, to handle more pressure, to handle more difficulty, to handle more problems. And so jot these down. I know they'll be helpful to you because they actually do work. The first thing is to adjust your expectations. This is massive. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of leaders come to work every day. They enter into their organizations, and they're expecting things to go well. They're hoping that things will, like, if I could just have a problem-free week and I don't have any staff issues to deal with or money issues, man, that would be great. Well, as long as you have that expectation, it's going to be dashed because something's going to go wrong. You're going to have a problem. And so what great leaders do is they just basically say to themselves, today I'm going to have problems, maybe some really big problems. Recently, I listened to a podcast, the Craig Rochelle Leadership Podcast, and he had a guest on there, Dr. Wayne Chappelle, and he is the psychologist for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Had to think of that real quick, and the NBA team. And Craig actually hired him to be his coach. And they were talking about this idea of, emotionally strong leaders and like top level, top 1% leaders and how they function differently. And Dr. Wayne Chappelle said they have a set of beliefs that they use to be able to handle lots of difficult situations. And the first belief was to expect problems. And actually, Craig interrupted him and said, hey, you've said that to me a million times. And then he said this. He said, great leaders expect hard times, expect bad things, they expect tension, they expect persecution, and they expect the unexpected. And what a different way to think about leadership. Like, what if you had that mindset? What if you came to your job every day, your company every day, your church every day, and said, you know what, today I'm going to have 2 or 3 things that go wrong, and that's my job. And that's what I'm going to do. Think about how psychologically prepared you would be and how that would help you to avoid getting discouraged or even down or overwhelmed or wanting to leave or go hide. And so what great leaders do is they just expect things to go wrong. They expect problems, and they actually understand that that's my job. That's what we do as leaders. We handle problems one after another after another. So number 1, adjust your expectations. Number 2, how do you increase your capacity for pain? You see every single problem as an opportunity. This is a mindset shift for me. What if you could see every single difficulty that comes across your desk as an opportunity to advance the organization? Years ago, I started reading this book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. He was a Roman emperor 2,000 years ago. And he's got this great line in chapter 8 where he says, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. It's probably his most famous quote. And Ryan Holiday wrote a book about that one quote. It's called The Obstacle is the Way. If you haven't read that book, fantastic read. And the idea is that whatever the problem is in front of me, that's actually the way through. There's this obstacle, this issue, this problem is going to provide for us a way around it, a way to push things forward. And so what if you could see every problem, whether it's a systems problem, a people problem, a money problem, whatever it is, what if you could choose to look at it and say, okay, where's the opportunity here? What is this problem? What opportunity is this problem giving us right now? Is it an opportunity to make a system better, to learn a new skill, to hire a new person, to create a new way, a new approach of doing things? I remember back when COVID took place, our church, your church was probably the same thing, man. We were hitting our stride back in 2020, 2019. We were breaking records, man. We were hitting on every cylinder. Then COVID hits, everything gets shut down. No one shows up at church for weeks and weeks and weeks. It seems like forever. And it's like, man, what are we going to do? It's a massive problem. And so what we did after I had a little pity party for a couple of weeks, I'm sure you did too, got real sad. Like, okay, regroup. Where's the opportunity here? And what we discovered was the opportunity was to really invest in our online presence. And so we started looking into that. We started looking into staffing and better cameras and better camera angles and how do we make the presentation, the online presentation better. And so we seized the opportunity in the midst of that difficulty. And on the back end of COVID, man, our online ministry just took off and it's been going great ever since then. And so what if you could look at every problem and say, where's the opportunity in the midst of this problem? That's number 2. How do you grow your capacity for pain? See the opportunity in every difficulty. And then number 3, I'm going to go a little theological here because we need to, because we're spiritual leaders. We have to see every problem as God ordained. Like, listen, here's the theological fact of the matter. You got a problem on your desk right now, if it's a people problem, money problem, system, whatever it is. God has either allowed that problem or he has orchestrated it. He's either allowed it to pass through his hands or he's actually planned that problem for you. Now, where does the Bible teach that? Lots of different places. I'll go to a few. Amos chapter 3, verse 6 says, does disaster come to a city unless the Lord has planned it? It's just right there in the book of Amos. It's a rhetorical question. The answer is obviously no. Like, bad things don't happen unless the Lord has planned it, orchestrated it, or allowed it. And then we go to the story of Joseph, right? Probably the greatest story in the Bible of showing God's sovereignty in the midst of difficulty. Joseph gets betrayed by his brother, sold into slavery, falsely accused of rape. He gets forgotten in jail. I mean, all these bad things happen to Joseph. You've preached sermons on it, probably. I've preached sermons on it. We understand that difficulty floods Joseph's life, but he never gives up. He never loses heart because he understands that God has a plan in the midst of all that difficulty. And that difficulty was either orchestrated or allowed by God for a purpose. In fact, Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, Joseph says to his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." And so we've preached that, I've preached that, but can we actually live that out practically in the midst of our problems? Can we, in the moment, say, okay, God, I trust you. You've allowed this to happen. You've orchestrated this to happen. And I'm not going to lose heart. I'm not going to give up because I know you have a plan in this. How do we grow our capacity for pain? We see that the problem is God ordained. We see the opportunity in the midst of the difficulty, and we adjust our expectations. Let's talk about this last one, number 4, and then we'll wrap up. We have to exercise our freedom of perspective. What do I mean by this? Well, years ago, Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor, he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. When he was in the concentration camps, he was observing himself. He was observing the other inmates. He was a psychologist, so he was literally studying himself and the inmates there. And what he noticed is that there was a small group of inmates that were able to make some very different choices that the other inmates weren't able to make. And what he came up with, and he talks about this in his book, is that the scenarios that there's always stimulus in our life. And the stimulus for them was, hey, we're locked up. We're not being fed. This is terrible. They're killing our friends in gas chambers and shooting them. And then there were the responses that people were having, stimulus and response. And a lot of the responses from the inmates, most of the inmates, was despair, giving up, quitting. A lot of inmates committed suicide, hopelessness, didn't want to live, loss of motivation. But there were a few that weren't responding that way. And so Frankel's like, well, why is that? Why are some inmates still hopeful, and why are they still motivated, and why are they still cleaning their bodies, and why are they still shaving their faces, and what's the difference? And what he discovered was that between the stimulus and the response, there's this thing called choice. And most human beings aren't aware that they have the ability to choose how to view their problem, how to see it, how to interpret it. It's not automatic that if something bad happens, that means it's actually bad and I should get discouraged or angry or mad or depressed or disappear or turn to some stimulant to escape. We get a choice, and I get a choice. You get to decide if this problem is good or bad. And so I'm a huge fan of the Stoic philosophers. I've already quoted Marcus Aurelius here, and he's got another statement in here that really he teaches throughout the entire book. It's really not a book. It's really a series of his own thoughts in a journal. But in Meditations, chapter 8, he makes this very, very simple statement. He says, external things are not the problem. It's your assessment. That's the problem. Or how are you viewing your problems? Are you viewing your problems as negative? Man, I can't believe this happened. Just one more problem to deal with. One more staff issue. One more person. I wish all my problems would go away. Are you viewing it? Is that your assessment of it? Is that your interpretation of it? Well, as long as that's your interpretation of problems, well, then you're not going to be a positive leader. You're going to be angry, upset, disappointed. You're going to think about quitting, wanting to throw in the towel, wanting to disappear, wanting to get out of there. What if you could look at your problems and say, man, these are good. These are good. These are opportunities. I see God in this. God's going to work through this. Like, this is my job. Like, I expect problems. Like, where are the problems today? Show me the problems. Let's get together. Let's get in a room. Let's solve them. Imagine how that would change your attitude. You get to make that choice. Exercise your freedom of perspective. Listen, if you want to be a great leader, you've got to grow your capacity for pain. In fact, you can't grow your organization without doing that. And that when you grow your capacity for pain, you can handle problems a lot better. Your team is not going to get poisoned by your negative, poor responses to problems. And your organization will be able to move forward as you get better and better and better at solving problems. And so adjust your expectations, see the opportunity in every single problem, see God's hand in it the way Joseph did, and finally exercise your freedom of perspective. Hope this is an encouragement to you, and take these principles, put them into practice, and become a better leader and grow your organization. That's all I got for you on this episode. We'll see you on the next one. God bless.